Breaking news, it's winter. And in winter, it's cold. And it doesn't matter if you've currently got your toes just sticking out of a blanket in Broadbeach, or whether, of course, you're in the middle of country New South Wales in a place like Bega, you are noticing, surprise, surprise, these months are always cold because it is winter. But, my friends, there is a big weather event, which is going to be taking place in the next few days. And the media is loving what this one is called. Now, remember, it's winter, it's cold, it's not great, but get ready for a bomb cyclone, whatever that is.
Sounding the alarm over a dangerous weather system being called a bomb cyclone.
A bomb cyclone is set to hit parts of New South Wales.
This has been labelled a bomb cyclone.
We're being warned tonight of a dangerous weather system called a bomb cyclone.
This is the official terminology, not that the media has made up, but the one used by the Bureau, which is why you are hearing it here on Sky News, both in our news, on the website, and of course on Sky News Weather. This thing looks like it is going to have an awful lot of wind in the next couple of days, a lot of rain in the next few days. Now, obviously, a little further north, a little further south than where it is hitting is going to be slightly affected. But essentially, the New South Wales coast between... They're talking about Coffs Harbour in the north all the way down to the south coast is where the problems are going to be. Full coverage on our weather channel tomorrow from midday. If you're living it, you know what it's going to be like. If you happen to be anywhere else in the country, make sure you're checking it out from midday tomorrow. The preparations are serious. And again, I'm happy for people to be overwarned and things don't turn up as bad as they seem, rather than people being unprepared. But this is the stuff the SES is saying tonight.
As we always say, it's really critical that you clean your gutters, that you move items that are loose, that can be blown around, such as trampolines and outdoor furniture, tie them down or move them to a secure location. Can you also please move any vehicles that you have away from any large trees?
Alison Osborne is one of the great brains behind the Sky News weather offering, which you can see 24/7 on Foxtel, on Flash and through the Sky News app. Remember, for just $5 a month, you can subscribe to that service. It's a great way of making sure that we will always be contactable. It's also a great way of staying in touch if you're outside of the areas where you would normally watch it, particularly on things like free-to-air in regional Australia. So subscribe now to skynews.com.au. Alison recorded this for us just a couple of minutes ago about what to expect in the next few days.
Thanks, Paul. We are watching for the potential of a very dangerous weather event over the New South Wales coast on Tuesday, and this is due to an east coast low. Now, the low pressure system itself just formed off the northern rivers shortly after noon, and we can see a corresponding darkening of the radar echoes there, so some heavier rain throughout the day. Lighter falls pulling southwards towards the Sydney area by nightfall. Now, this system is being termed a bomb cyclone because of its potential to rapidly intensify during the day tomorrow. It's not a made-up term. It's when a mid-latitude low rapidly strengthens, the centre pressure drops by more than 24 hectopascals in 24 hours, and this results in widespread dangerous weather. Now, the forecast shows just that. The system pulls southwards and intensifies. This phenomenon is also called explosive cyclogenesis, bombogenesis, or bombing. So it is quite a dangerous weather event. Now, in response to that centre pressure dropping, the winds rushing in a clockwise direction to fill this void, and this is leading to intense rainfall rates. They're likely to ramp up over the mid-north coast tonight, pull over the Hunter by the morning. For Sydney-siders and those who live in the Illawarra, you're likely to feel that heavy rain ramp up during the afternoon and evening. Now, damaging winds are a key threat here. They're likely to intensify as the system itself strengthens. We can see that very strong wind pushing in over the Hunter during the morning, then likely intensify over Sydney and surrounding areas of the New South Wales coast during Tuesday night and then throughout Wednesday. Winds are likely to be strong enough to bring down tree branches, cause property damage and make for very dangerous driving conditions, as well as triggering power outages. And it's for this entire coastal fringe south of about Coffs Harbour, but it also includes the New South Wales northern ranges and into southern Queensland. Now, coastal hazard warnings are also in place, warning of waves likely to cause coastal erosion. We can see seas and swells likely to top 4 to 5 metres over that coastal fringe over the course of Tuesday night and into Wednesday. Now, the system is likely to then pull southwards during Tuesday night, dragging the heavy rain with it, pulling it southwards all the way through to Victoria's Gippsland region. We're looking at 48-hour rainfall totals in these areas likely to exceed 100 millimetres, including through Sydney. Heaviest area is likely to be the Illawarra, reaching 200 millimetres. We'll have the latest on the details with this system on Sky News Weather, Channel 601, throughout the day on Tuesday.
Good on you, Alison. Thank you very much. Yeah, so part of this, and we all knew this, right? That if it goes down by 24 hectopascals within 24 hours, then that's the beginning of what is going to be this bomb cyclone. Again, make sure that you keep your homepage as skynews.com.au. If you can, get out there earlier in the day, settle things up, make sure that you, again, have as many things in safety as possible, strap down if needed. Why? Because you don't want to be dealing with the consequences. Again, our thoughts are with people in areas like Taree, which have been thumped about before, places like Lismore, which you've heard this too many times. They thankfully made it through the ex-tropical cyclone Alfred. May they do so again with what is going to be happening in the next couple of days. Either way, we'll be all the way across it for the next couple of days. Now, you know how excited I was when the President of the United States decided to take global diplomacy right into the shallow end and started dropping F-bombs. And I personally, as a intergalactic swearer, and I know some people don't like it, but still, as an intergalactic swearer, I didn't mind that the leader of the free world was throwing around some swearing last week.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.
Well, who knew that the first Australian politician, the first cab off the rank to join the ranks of the Trump sweary people, is the oh-so-woke Premier and dear leader of Victoria, Jacinta Allen. Now, she decided to throw around a little bit of swear today because, as you know, when the Labor Party thought that they were going to go very close to losing the federal election, they thought one of the ways that would happen would be because Victoria was going to whack them about pretty hard. Didn't end up happening, but that didn't mean that they didn't get a special boost to their GST fundings, where the state, randomly out of nowhere, without seemingly asking for it, ended up with billions of dollars extra. Why? Because they wanted to pad up for the federal election. Now, of course, there's only so much money in the GST pool, so where did it come from? Well, places like Queensland, where they took about $2.5 billion out. And why? Because their assumption was that this would all be Peter Dutton and LNP territory, even though it ended up being quite good for the Labor Party. They just thought, oh, we'll move money from Queensland, who cares? That's a Liberal government. Let's prop up our mates in the Labor Party. Well, in response, the Queensland Treasurer has pretty easily called it out. When you have had $2.5 billion taken away from what you can spend in Queensland to be spent in Victoria, you say things like this.
I think any fair-minded person would look at the numbers and see the growth in GST in other jurisdictions over the last decade and see that Queensland has fallen behind. We have been penalised because of our investment in those industries like gas that other jurisdictions will not invest in. I don't think we should be penalised for that.
Well, so how did Jacinta Allen, who could be wokier than woke, she'd be just as happy in the Greens as she is in the left wing of the Labor Party, all the same thing in a place like Victoria? Well, she decided to go full Trump in response.
Let me put it in language and in a way that the Queensland Treasurer can understand. It's just bull, right?
Oh, goodness me! Now, again, I don't mind this every now and then, but do you like the patronising tone? You could see while I was rolling through in her head, was she going to say Queenslanders? Because, you know, Queenslanders aren't the same as Victorians. No, we quickly changed it to the Queensland Treasurer because, of course, he's a moron because he's not from the same political party as the Labor Party. But I suggest that unlike Donald Trump, who seemingly decided to swear because he was genuinely that frustrated with the situation that he was trying to deal with, this little bee bomb is a distraction from other stories. You see, today in Victoria, we learnt via the Australian Financial Review that Victoria's debt is amongst the worst in the world when you start to compare the size of the economy, populations, all the rest of it. And then, of course, there was the screaming from the Herald Sun today, and I say screaming because it's a big story. Victoria is going to get their own version of The Voice, despite the fact that the good people of Victoria, when given a chance to introduce a voice into the federal constitution, voted against it. Even woke Victoria, 54 to 45 said no. But they're going ahead and they're going to do it anyway. Why? Because, you know, they know better than the people of Victoria. So, given that there was this analysis that their debt is some of the worst in the world, or the government is going to do exactly the opposite of what the people voted for in a referendum, what do you reckon was the lead story tonight in Melbourne?
The Premier has angrily dismissed claims Victoria is being financially propped up by other states.
Queensland has gone on the attack, arguing it's fed up with being penalised for poor decisions made down south.
Seriously? Now, I always, you know, as a great observer of news, you know, first as a kid desperately wanting to be involved in it one day and being a young bloke, and now what I am, being able to have seen this and seen this sausage made over so many years. I don't understand why many people who put these things together think that people are so stupid. Clearly, the bigger issue in Victoria is how long the debt is going to have to be paid off. Clearly, the bigger issue in terms of a government going exactly the opposite of the way the people vote is an issue in and around democracy. Oh, no, state versus state, it's really easy for everyone to understand. So perhaps when the Premier was dumbing things down for the Treasurer of Queensland, perhaps she was doing so for the media, who would otherwise have to report on those really boring issues like the debt or the state government doing exactly the opposite of what the people wanted. Which brings us to what feel like moments in Australian society that it doesn't matter how many people like or dislike something, in this case, dislike something, the machine just rolls on anyway. For example, how many polls, how many years, how many governments have told us the same thing? Australians believe too many people are coming into the country, not because they dislike the people whom are coming into the country or the countries from which they are coming, but because if you've got a rental queue that goes around the block, adding a few 100,000 people to the rental queue is going to make it harder for somebody to find a place to rent. Adding more people to the auction is going to make it harder for your kids and your grandkids to be able to buy a house. But still, big Australia keeps marching on. Of course, tax. Australians well and truly believe they are paying too much tax. And when you have a look at, as we told you last night, now a million public servants. Now, we're not talking about nurses and teachers here. We're talking about 1 million public servants. Do you feel fantastic that, it's going to be about Wednesday lunchtime is when you start working for yourself as opposed to working for the government? Well, another example seems to be Welcome to Country. Now, I honestly believe most people don't have a problem with Welcome to Country at significant events, in the same way that we don't sing the national anthem every time you're on a Zoom call, in the same way that, again, we don't thank the troops for their service at the start of every football game. People seem to believe that there is a time and a place, not a should it exist at all or should it be in everything position. But again, it doesn't matter how many polls keep coming. You know, you have to, very polite every single time. And if you do not, as I say, often kiss the ring, and not just kiss it, you must kiss it lovingly, then you are, of course, going to lose some social credit, which, of course, is the way the Chinese run their system, but don't talk about that. Australians, according to a new poll, skynews.com.au, push back on Welcome to Country ceremonies, a poll from the Institute of Public Affairs. And this one is interesting to read and see here, where, as you can see, 56% of people say that Welcome to Country has now become divisive. 49% of people say that Welcome to Country should not be performed at sporting events at all. And Welcome to Country should not be performed on Anzac Day. 46% of people say yes to that proposition, that it shouldn't be there. 34% say yeah, it should be. And 20% still making up their mind. But isn't it interesting, you know, when there's an opinion poll that says we should legalise more drugs, right? That's always used as a reason why we have to do something. Or, of course, if they like something, they turn around and say, well, this country's doing it, so why don't we? Yet, for some reason, it doesn't matter how many times you're asked, it doesn't matter how many people have their opinion, you will love it. And if you don't love it, you're a bad person. And a bad person is even worse than being a bad Australian, because being an Australian, well, that's already bad to begin with, isn't it? According to some of these people. which brings me to this. Let's talk about the Prime Minister and his loving of certain world leaders, if they're willing to talk to him. Remember, he was part of the B team, the reserve team, the bench of global leaders at the G7. They, of course, every country outside of the 7. They weren't allowed to even dine with the 7 that, of course, included, among others, the United States. And there was great fanfare and great hope that Albo would end up finally having his meeting with Donald Trump because, of course, he's done 4/5 of bugger all to actually physically sit face-to-face with him from the day he won the election in November to January when he gets sworn in. And we are now on our way towards July and no face-to-face. Well, apparently the next time there might be an opportunity for a meeting with the President of the United States may well end up being a Quad meeting. Now, this is going to be really full on if we can't get some FaceTime because there's only 4 countries involved in the Quad. And if we can't get face-to-face in a 4-way meeting, then we're in a world of trouble. So most likely, yeah, that's where it's going to be. But I just want everyone to remember here, while the majority of Australians don't like Donald Trump, the Australian Prime Minister has not met face-to-face with the new Prime Minister November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. And we keep going past July. When asked about it, of course, the greatest Prime Minister of all time, well, doesn't care. Why? Because it's good for him politically to have problems with Donald Trump, despite the fact that when given a choice between America leading the world or China leading the world, all good and decent human beings know America should be at the head of the table, not China. Yeah, I said it.
Is your preference to have a face-to-face Oval Office meeting with the President rather than waiting for the Quad, for instance?
I think where the meeting takes place is less important than what comes out of the meeting, frankly. And I know there is a focus on this, laser-like focus on this.
Yeah, laser-like. Oh, laser-like. This is a pretty bad laser. We have not been able to hit the target. Now, again, we know the Australian media is obsessed with this meeting because they want it to fail, because they want to judge the body language of Orange Man bad, because they want our Prime Minister to be like other Prime Ministers who seemingly have benefited from being on the opposite side of issues when it comes to Donald Trump. On all of this, we'll have a chat to Laura Jays in the United States in a moment or two's time about this before we get into our debate tonight between Nicholas Rees and with Matt Canavan. But the reason this meeting has to take place is because, yes, it was America's decision to introduce a 10% global tariff on every country, including Australia, that will affect things like our steel and the importation of our steel to the United States. Well, ABC News America is saying there was a 90-day pause and there probably won't be another 90-day pause, meaning the tariffs could kick in as early as 10 days' time from now. So 30 days have June, April, and November, right? Then July 9, 10 days from now. When will Australia get face-to-face with the President of the United States? Well, certainly not in the next 10 days. But don't worry about it. Meantime, amazingly, the Chinese have had a little bit to say. And remember that Anthony Albanese has been very open about no country gets to tell us what to do, unless, of course, it's China. Shh, don't say that. Don't say that. Well, the Chinese ambassador wrote an opinion piece in the Australian newspaper today, and this just gaslighting. Remember, this is the bloke who had, 12 different conditions for Australia. Australia were the bad guys because we wanted some answers about a global pandemic. But then, of course, everything's great with Albo because, of course, he doesn't rock the boat, never says anything bad about the Chinese. In exchange, geez, magically, people that have never voted Labor in their life have voted Labor in the past 2 elections. Nothing to see here, shush. By playing up international and regional tensions and slandering China's normal military build-up, they are making fake islands. They are going around Australia circumnavigating with naval ships. They are doing live fire exercises between here and New Zealand. Oh, no. But it's us making it up. These countries are merely seeking nothing but excuses to drastically grow their military spending. He's talking about America and NATO, even arbitrarily reaching beyond its geographical scope and mandate. NATO countries already account for 55% of the world's total military spending in 2024. So what? It's not just about the military threat What about the intelligence threat? What about the fact that China has an international space station that is not connected to the International Space Station? Okay? I know there's a lot of people making a lot of money out of a relationship, business relationships between Australia and China. I know that the government wants a better relationship with China because it helps them electorally here. But I'm sorry, if there is a choice between getting closer to America or closer to China, while it may be financially difficult for some, we must remain closer to the United States, regardless of whether it's dopey Joe Biden or orange man bad that is the President of the United States. Can I continue here? Again, this in the Australian newspaper today. Behind the so-called China threat lies certain countries' desire to maintain their hegemony. Again, code. The US should not be the leader of the world. It should be them. They are trapped in their own inertia. Fear, but I'm not reading the rest of it. It's crap. Well, let's see how the Prime Minister responds here. Remember how many times he said this when the Americans were telling us about our defence spending?
My job is to look after Australia's national interests. That includes our defence and security interests, and that's precisely what we are doing. Our approach, Kieran, is very clear, which is we will ensure that Australia has the capability that we need. Australia should decide what we spend on Australia's defence. Simple as that.
So how did the handsome boy do today? What did the handsome...
The Chinese ambassador speaks for China. My job is to speak for Australia. And it's in Australia's national interest for us to invest in our capability and to invest in our relationships, and we're doing just that.
Pass, but only just. But again, priorities. The priorities of this Prime Minister when he came to office was to sort things out with China as fast as possible. Why? Because there was the economic consequences that came back. Hence why there was a whole series of meetings and eventually the face-to-face. No such urgency that we can publicly see about trying to get to meet with Donald Trump. Now, again, when I hope they get together, and I hope they get together, I hope the meeting goes well, I hope everyone's happy, and I hope that the government gets the best result for Australia. I'm not cheering against Australia in this scenario. I'm just saying we've got a bloke who's walking both sides of the street. This is each way elbow, either at his diplomatic finest or more likely knowing that the financial eggs are in one basket, the security eggs are in another. And anyone who knows when you've got both sides of a barbed wire fence, it eventually hurts. Now, a couple of other things worth talking about here before we talk to our dear friend Laura Jays in the United States about that and a whole lot more in a moment. Are you somebody who is starting to use your mobile phone for health advice? Please don't. Please don't. Now, I know for a generation we've had Dr. Google where people are double-checking my symptoms are this, and surprise, surprise, it always comes back, you've got about 2 weeks to live. But there are people that are using AI now to basically type in a whole bunch of symptoms to tell them what is wrong with them. Here's the deal. All of these things are good for general information, but the specific information about you is between you and your doctor, your regular doctor. Not the one that'll just quickly give you a medical certificate to say you can have another day off work, not the one that'll quickly, via an app, send back the prescription that there's no controversy about. If you've got questions about your health, see your local GP, okay? But can I build on this here, where some information about Australians who are getting the wrong information from the most trusted and important family member, their mobile phone. People have been warned about trusting Dr. Google for years, but AI is opening up a disturbing new world of dangerous health misinformation. A new first-of-its-kind global study led by researchers at the University of South Australia, Flinders University, Harvard Medical School, that's fancy, University College in London and the Warsaw University of Technology has revealed how easily chatbots can be and are programmed to deliver false medical and health information. Meantime, I don't have much more information than the headline, but there is some pretty good work being done in and around Alzheimer's, particularly with some medication. More Australian researchers are involved with that today. When we know more, I will gladly tell you so in a moment or two's time. A couple of other things quickly to mention here too, which is The mushroom trial. Well, now the jury is off to its formal deliberations. Now, anyone who knows the jury process knows there's not just the 12 people that sit in the jury box, but there are 2 alternates. Because no one was booted off the jury, there was no need for the alternatives. So today, decision was made amongst those 14 names in the hat, because you've sat and you've watched everything, and they have all. Then they picked 12, and 2 sat through the whole trial but have no further role to play. Slightly frustrating. But one of the things that was said to the jury today in its instructions from the bench was that you can't be 50-50 on this. You've got to all be in one place to find the accused guilty.
The decision, it needs to be unanimous. So all 12 jury members need to decide on the same verdict. And if they don't, that means the trial could end in a hung jury.
Now, I mentioned it before, but I want to remind you. This month, for $5 a month, you are able to sign up to skynews.com.au and get plenty more behind the scenes. I'm going to leave this up right now, but I want you to write down this. Now, it doesn't matter if you're Flash or Foxtel or all of those other... The best way to support what we do, to guarantee you will always see us every hour of every day, you will not miss 1 minute of one show, is to that QR code right now, okay? I'll give you a couple of seconds to do it. Leave it up on the screen. Hold your phone up, and you will be able to get a prompt. It'll open up the website. Subscribe. $5 a month. There's also, if you've got one of those TVs, a smart TV app. And again, for $5 a month, you are guaranteed to never miss a minute of where we are. Now, I know there's a lot of people watching us, particularly through Sky News Regional. There are other parts of the country where that can be a little bit patchy. If you want to guarantee, and if you want to give it as a gift to someone, sign up and do it now, okay? Skynews.com.au, $5 a month. Never miss a moment of what we do, because we need you for the fight all day, every day.